I ran away from my parents and discovered the life they hid from me. I grew up in a house where love had conditions. Every outfit was approved, every friend was questioned, every dream was corrected. I wasn't allowed privacy, opinions, or mistakes. My parents called it protection. It felt like being owned. The night I ran away, I didn't leave angry. I left quiet, a backpack, a few dollars, and the realization that staying would slowly erase me. I slept on strangers' couches, worked whatever jobs I could find, and learned how to exist without asking permission. That's when I met him. He never told me who to be. He never checked my phone or planned my future for me. He listened. And somehow, that felt revolutionary. What started as survival turned into love, and one morning we realized we'd already built a life together without trying. We eloped. No parents, no witnesses. Just the promise that neither of us would ever control the other the way we'd been controlled before. Years later, a message came from a cousin I barely remembered. My parents wanted to see me, said they missed me, said it was time. Walking back into that house felt like stepping into a paused memory. Same walls, same furniture, same forced smiles. But then I noticed the kids on the couch. 3 of them, different ages, relaxed, laughing. My siblings. Siblings I never knew existed. They moved easily in that house, free in ways I never was. My parents looked proud, peaceful, like they'd perfected the family they couldn't have with me. My youngest sibling stared at me for a long moment before asking, completely innocent, "Are you the one we weren't allowed to talk about?" My mother smiled tightly and said they assumed I'd moved on by now. That's when the front door opened behind me. My husband stepped into the room, and my father's face drained of color as he whispered my husband's name, revealing they'd already met him years ago, long before I ever did. And whatever they knew about him was the real reason they never wanted me found. The moment my husband stepped into that room, something ancient cracked open. My father didn't just recognize him. His body reacted before his mind could catch up. His shoulders stiffened, his jaw locked, and the color drained from his face like he had been dragged backward through a memory he never expected to face again. My mother's hand tightened around the counter, her smile collapsing into that thin, practiced expression she always used when reality threatened the version of our family she preferred to perform. My siblings felt it immediately. The laughing stopped. The youngest leaned into the middle one, eyes darting between the adults, sensing danger without knowing why. They had grown up safe enough to trust rooms like this. I never had. My husband slowed when he noticed my father's reaction. He didn't understand yet, but he knew something was wrong. I saw it in the way his breathing changed, in the way his presence became deliberate instead of casual. He looked at me, then back at my parents, and waited. My father said his name quietly, not with anger or surprise, but with recognition. That was when I knew this moment had nothing to do with me running away. That was just the symptom. The real wound had been there long before I ever left. My childhood had always felt pre-written. Every decision came with a correct answer. What I wore, where I went, who I spoke to, what I dreamed about. Privacy was treated like rebellion. Love was conditional, given generously when I complied and withdrawn the moment I didn't. They called it protection. They called it guidance. They never called it control. The night I ran away wasn't dramatic. No yelling, no confrontation. I waited until the house was quiet, packed a bag, and stood in my room, realizing it had never really been mine. I didn't cry when I left. I cried days later on a stranger's couch when I realized no one was coming to look for me. Freedom didn't feel brave at first. It felt terrifying. I worked whatever jobs I could get. I learned how to survive without permission. I learned how to make myself small when necessary and strong when it mattered. Somewhere in the middle of that, I met him. He didn't demand explanations. He didn't rush intimacy. He listened like trust was something earned instead of owned. I didn't realize how foreign that felt until I caught myself waiting for punishment that never came. We didn't fall in love dramatically. We built it slowly, carefully, like 2 people who understood what it cost to get it wrong. We eloped because the idea of asking permission felt poisonous. Standing in that courthouse, no parents, no audience, no expectations, I felt more legitimate than I ever had in my childhood home. We promised each other freedom, not obedience. Years passed quietly, happily. I assumed my parents had erased me, and I told myself that was mercy. Then a message came saying they wanted to see me. I almost didn't go. But curiosity has weight, especially when it carries unfinished grief. Walking back into that house felt like stepping into a preserved version of my past. Same walls, same furniture, same forced calm. But the children on the couch didn't belong to my memories. They were relaxed, loud, comfortable, free in ways I never was. My siblings. When the youngest asked if I was the one they weren't allowed to talk about, something inside me finally broke clean instead of shattering. My mother said she assumed I had moved on, her voice calm, as if erasing me had been a reasonable phase. Then my husband walked in. The truth unraveled quickly after that. My parents admitted they had known about him years ago, not personally, but as a warning. His story had circulated quietly among families like theirs: a son who refused control, a child who left and never came back. To them, he wasn't brave, he was dangerous, proof that obedience could expire. They had planned my future around avoiding people like him. When I ran away, it confirmed their worst fear. Control was not permanent. My siblings listened as everything spilled out: the monitoring, the punishments, the emotional withdrawal disguised as discipline. My parents didn't interrupt. They couldn't. The truth had weight now. When my middle sibling asked if they existed because I left, my parents didn't deny it. That silence said everything. After I disappeared, they softened, not out of growth, but guilt. Each child raised with slightly more freedom than the last, built on the absence of the one they couldn't break. I wasn't replaced. I was studied. My husband finally spoke, not angrily, not dramatically, but clearly. He said fear-based parenting always fails eventually. That control only works when the person being controlled believes they deserve it. And once that illusion cracks, it never fully heals. They didn't argue. When we left, my siblings hugged me like they were afraid I would vanish again. My parents stood frozen in the doorway, watching something irreversible happen. Driving away, I didn't feel victorious. I felt finished. Not broken, not angry. Finished. I didn't need their apology. I didn't need their understanding. I had built a life that didn't require their permission to exist. And for the first time, I understood something they never would. To people who confuse ownership with love, losing control feels like loss. But to the one who escaped, it feels like finally coming home.